What's up? We're on. All right. What's going on? Kevin Ray LoVullo here from sunny-ass Broadkill Beach, Milton, Delaware, the nation's first state. I went to school at Flagler College, the nation's first city, they said. So I'm not really sure what the first, but anyway, it's a beautiful day. Happy Memorial Day. And cheers. Hope you're enjoying your day so far. It is so nice here. My good buddy Jason Carr. This one goes out to you, my friend. Jason just became an officer in the United States Air Force. I salute you, man. Cheers. Ice cold Jagger. Rock and roll. We actually have a live audience here. Right now it's just Chris. Hello, Chris. And Ashlyn will be here soon. She's in her bikini. We're going to be going out to the beach with her two sisters, Meg and Erin. Meg, her middle sister, it's cool. My girlfriend has two sisters. I've never been around them when all three of them are together because there's three different areas of the country that we're in. And I thought I was nerdy when I saw Meg. Not only did she have a Frodo Baggins shirt on, she actually had an actual ring to match the Lord of the Rings. And it was just so funny. I finished the Lord of the Rings books a few days ago. Really, really good. But cheers to you. And today in music, Let It Be is 50 years old. Let It Be. It's the posthumous Beatles release. One of the greatest sing-alongs ever, like Hey Jude. But Let It Be, we'll be cranking that a little bit later today. And it was a year ago today that Richard Ashcroft of the Verve, if you remember the song Bittersweet Symphony from 1997, the violins, you know what I'm saying? Do you know that song? Richard Ashcroft got those rights back after all those years because part of that song was written by the Rolling Stones in The Last Time off the Out of Our Heads record, 1965. So after all these years, Ashcroft from the Verve got the rights to that juggernaut 90s hit back from Jagger and Richards. So good for him. 1965, there are a few things that come to mind when I think of that year. Right at the top of the list, I hear 1965, I think of James Bond and Thunderball. I know my Uncle Chris is also a James Bond fan. Thunderball is my all-time favorite James Bond movie. I'm a massive fan. Ashlyn's dad, Gary, has a really cool painting of Saint-Tropez, and it really looks like that kind of Bond setting that I just love. Those movies kind of take you there. And Thunderball really took you to the Bahamas and to all these other places that Sean Connery, best Bond ever, went to. 1974, Man with the Golden Gun. That's my favorite Roger Moore Bond. 95 was GoldenEye, but Thunderball right up there. Sean Connery's the best. From Russia with Love, Dr. No, etc. But 1965, Leonard, my little brother, I was texting with him yesterday, and I sent him a picture of the Grateful Dead. I don't know. I just came across it on my phone, and I sent it over to him. Leonard's a massive Grateful Dead Fish fan. And it was a really cool picture of the guys early on. It's a black and white. And Leonard told me something about them forming in 1965. So sure as shit, I looked it up and it was true. So the Grateful Dead formed in 1965, 55 years ago this year. So take that with you. Today's episode is pretty bitchin' because I'm going to rewind back to the Stone Temple Pilots. I think this is a pretty appropriate shirt, right? Stone Temple Pilots. Want you. And by the way, I think my cousin Chris and Nick are with us live today from Arizona. So what's up, guys? I miss you. And say hello to Capri and little Nixon. I miss you guys. But Stone Temple Pilots, that's the subject for today. And I've got the ticket here. This was the show. Rapids Theater, September 7th, 2011. That was a big year for me, 2011. I traveled over 12,000 miles for Metallica in 2011. Week after this was the big Yankee Stadium, really memorable kind of year. But this is STP, and it's even more memorable because it was the first and only time that I saw Stone Temple Pilots with their original singer Scott Weiland. Scott Weiland was one of the many fallen musicians due to drugs, and for years he struggled with heroin and coke and all the bad stuff. And he passed away in December of 2015 on a tour bus, and just because of the drugs, he OD'd. He was struggling for years, but those last 5 years, he was like on stage, kind of having that 1,000-yard stare, just off in the distance, just, you know, playing. He would be singing, but he wouldn't be there. A husband, well, an ex-husband. He was a father, and he's just in really rough shape. But back then in 2011, STP got it firing back up. They came out with a new record. It's a self-titled record. And it sold well, and they went out on tour again because they weren't on tour for a long time. Scott Weiland, Robert and Dean DeLeo on guitar and bass, the brothers, and Eric Kretz on the drums. So those are the original members that I saw at Niagara Falls Rapids Theater. And they're a San Diego band. And I think one of the funniest stories about STP is Stone Temple Pilots STP was that I think it was the guitarist and the frontman, Scott. The first incarnation of the band was called Mighty Joe Young. You ever see that movie with Charlize Theron from the 90s, Mighty Joe Young? Have you? Let's see. It's really bright, so comments are going to be kind of tough. Yeah, Mark, I got you, man. Yeah, we're good. Thanks. But yeah, Scott and one of the DeLeo brothers, they were dating the same girl. So when they're jamming in the band, oh, you know, who are you hanging out with? So they were dating the same girl, which kind of created even more of a chemistry. Like, haha, you know, I thought that was funny. But SCP, I mentioned Alice in Chains has a colorful catalog. When Scott passed away, I read a lot of the testimonials, and it's just a really small world. Any of these guys will say this in that industry. It's just a really small world in that music industry. Everyone knows everybody, rock and country and all that kind of stuff, especially the rock and the metal world. They all hang out on these festivals overseas, yada, yada. But Will Duvall, the lead singer of Alice in Chains, who took Lane Staley's spot, another fallen hero, Lane Staley in 2002, Alice in Chains. But Will Duvall, the vocalist of Alice, after Scott passed, one of the adjectives he used to describe Stone Temple Pilots' catalog was colorful. I encourage you, rock fan or not, to check out Stone Temple Pilots' catalog of records. In particular, the first three, I think you'd have a really good time with. 1992's Core, 94's Purple, 96 Tiny Music, Gifts from the Vatican Gift Shop. Those three, the first three records, you will escape into this. When I hear STP, I smell and I feel the waves and the sea salt in the air. I have so many good memories of just the music. Going to Angola here at the Lake Erie in New York, to CJ Ulrich's cabin, going back way long. Keith's cabin. It just reminds me of hitting the road, popping the windows, and cranking some good music. It's got that kind of swing from Led Zeppelin. It's got Scott was an amazing lyricist, and he really connected with a lot of people, myself included. 06 tour shirt right here. And I'll share this right now. My first girlfriend bought me this, so it's okay. It's all good. I cut the sleeves off and called it a day. We want you good shit. So the quote of the day is, happiness is overrated, joy is infinite. Happiness is overrated, joy is infinite. And I think you achieve immortality in this life through happiness, yes, and joy in what you do and who you are and what you do to spend your time with and the people that you're around. Not to get all gushy, but happiness is overrated, joy is infinite. That was sang by Chester Bennington of Linkin Park a fallen hero of mine, another fellow who fell in that industry. And Chester, after Scott was kicked out of the band because of all the drugs, Chester came in and wrote a record with STP as Heroes. So the lead singer of Linkin Park comes and joins Stone Temple Pilots, one of the 90s great rock bands, and they wrote a record. It was an EP, not an LP, so it was a 4 or 5 track set. And I had just moved to San Diego in 2013, and that record came out. And I was coming out of a breakup myself, and that CD, I'm sure you have that one song or songs or album that you kind of rewind back to, and it's like, yeah, that really helped me out. That was the Chester Bennington fronted STP record that helped me out. And that song was Out of Time. So happiness is overrated, joy is infinite. Going back to the show, 2011, Rapids Theater. I love that venue because parking is always so easy. It's 10 minutes away from Niagara Falls. You have to see Niagara Falls if you've never seen it before. I'm born and raised by it. It's really nothing much for me, but really cool cool venue. Hardwood floor, bar kind of in the middle, but in the back, so you could chill and have your shots of tequila and hang out and watch the band kind of connect like that. You could just put that down and go connect with the other fans in the pit and have a good time that way. But for this particular gig, which I do for most of my concerts, I'm 32 now. I don't do it as much, but I'd say throughout my 20s, definitely, I would travel the globe and chase my heroes and get in line, be the first in line, rush the front, wait all day, don't piss, because when the adrenaline's going, you don't even have to piss. It's just something that works out. So with that, I saw that concert in this shirt in September of 2011. I roll long hair. I was by myself, and I got in line around noon, 1 o'clock. It was a work day. It's really nice out, a little bit of a breeze. Parked my car. I said goodbye to my car. I'm not going to see it for like another 12 hours, you know. But I sat down in front of the venue, and you get people walking by, and they look at you all strange, and it's all worth it, because all that waiting, you have the best seat in the house, which is front and center. The Scott Weiland Stone Temple Pilots, come on. And from that particular wait in line by myself, there were a few hours there, I would just play some tunes just on my phone or whatever. And the one record I was playing was Saliva. Saliva's Every 6 Seconds. If you ever heard of the band Saliva, they were out of that kind of new metal phase of the late 90s, early 2000s. Record came out in 2001. There's a song called Your Disease. I'll include that music video. Rye, if you want to throw up that music video, Your Disease by Saliva. It's one of the great songs of that time, the late 90s, early 2000s, in rock music. Rap and rock, just good vibes. Love it. So that record I played start to finish, and I remember there was this kid who came into line after me. So he was second in line, and I was playing one of those songs, Greater Than, Less Than, or Lackluster, one of those. And he wanted to talk. Like, he wanted to talk about Saliva. He just came up to me, and he really wanted to like let me know how much he loves the band, which is really cool and everything. It really is. I love those types of conversations. When you're in line for hours, I really just chill. I just chill, and I just keep the energy low, and I don't get too riled up. That's just me. But a lot of times when you get in line around 12, 1 o'clock, I mean, it is strange. When you're looking at me, you're hearing me say I get in line at 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon for, doors at 6 in the middle of the day, security, all that kind of stuff. They look at you like with 3 heads. So that does attract some weirdos, myself included. I'm very weird, but you engage with some of the weirdest people you ever meet in your life. Let me check the chat after that. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, yeah, thanks. My mother is asking, thanks, Chris. My mother is asking if how did Stone Temple Pilots get their name, which is a really funky name. I think you may have stumped me, Dad. I know they wanted to go pilots. They wanted to include pilots. How that got to the pilots word, I don't know. Mighty Joe Young, Mighty Joe Young, their first incarnation was 3 words. Stone Temple Pilots, 3 words. That's just me guessing, just keeping it kind of linear like that. But I remember saying that it rolled off the tongue, so Stone Temple Pilots. And they have an acronym for it, STP. STP, I didn't look it up, but it's like a car brand, oil or something. Brand, yeah. It's an oil brand? Okay. And that logo they actually have. I got my souvenir for the show. But, you know, finally got into the show. And just waiting. And see, this is right here. That's STP. So if you recognize, you know, so it's got the STP oil kind of thing. It's a recognizable logo, and that's it. I hope it answers somewhat of your questions. There you go. So the show didn't start until 2 hours after playtime. Scott Weiland was notoriously late, like Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses. You know, these guys sometimes like to do stuff on their own time. Frontman syndrome, I think they call it. You know, with the lead singers, they like to do shit. They like to be in their own dressing room. They like to go on their own bus. Steven Tyler, you know, and the guys. A lot of the bands, the big bands, they travel in different buses and planes and shit like that. But Scott, I remember after the first song or the second song, Scott's like, oh, I missed my taxi on the way in or whatever. No, he's probably doing some drugs in the back, just taking his time or whatever. But after 2 hours of waiting, he finally came out. And just down the rail from me was my very good friend, Chris Helmeser, St. Joe's alumni friend, him and his brother. Chris, I love you, man. I miss you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Hope your doggy Norman's doing well. Love you, man. And Chris is a massive STP fan, as was Mike Holden. I've been bringing up Mike Holden every single episode. Holden introduced me further into the STP lore. But anyway, when the show was starting, here's Scott Weiland. I mean, holy shit. I mean, he's just the energy, and there's a song where he's got the speaker, and he's got this little blow speaker, you know, and he just got the microphone like that, you know, here I come, I come, I come. And let's see. You know, I've got my bracelet here from the show, and I'm going to show you something. By the way, this show, I've never walked away from a show with more souvenirs in my life. I really ate up that moment. I had real long hair, head banging. I actually have permanent neck damage. I was just telling Chris, from my 15 years of head banging, which I've since retired from. Worth it. So I've got the set list that was in front of Scott Weiland throughout that entire show. I got his boot prints on here too, which is so sick. If you want to take a look, these are the songs that were performed that night. Yeah, Chris's jaws dropped, but this is where do you get this shit from? You know, you know the lyrics, you rock the fuck out, and sometimes security notices that, or they're techies, and they just, when you're asking, you know, may I have that set list, please? Set list, please? They just go right to you. So knowing all these lyrics to most of these songs was a true joy. And I know after one of the songs here, let's see. Okay, I want to say it was Heaven and Hot Rods or Hickory. It was off their latest self-titled record that came out, I think it was in 2010. And before that song was played, I remember Scott asking the crowd, "You want to hear a new song?" And everyone was real quiet, and no response was made. So he went back on the mic, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to record the next record." And he meant it because he wanted to make a better one. Unfortunately, they never recorded another one with him. Drugs, and of course his passing. R.I.P. Scott. But this was so cool. Leonard, my younger brother, is a big fan of Cracker Man off their first record. If I was to recommend one song to start off with, it's got to be Plush. Plush was their hit from MTV in the early 90s. But Cracker Man off that same record, and Core in 1992, the opener, it's just, that song just swings. It's so fun. One of my all-time favorite gig moments that I've ever had. Ever. You know what I'm saying, Meg? Mm-hmm. Hi, Meg. Yeah. Lord of the Rings fan. I was talking about you in the beginning of the episode. Did you hear that? No? Okay. Do you have any Lord of the Rings quotes right now? Any Gollum quotes? No?
I'm blanking.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to you. So, one of my greatest gig moments ever ever was right before the encore, which is the line, song called Sex Type Thing. I would say that's my favorite STP song, Sex Type Thing. Check it out. Sex Type Thing played, and it was during the chorus where, and I woke up the next morning just completely like, oh my God, that happened. During the chorus, Scott looked at me, and he didn't do this the whole entire show. He was kind of spacing out, doing his own thing the whole show. But he looked at me, and he had his sunglasses off, and he pointed right at me like this, and he had his vein coming down his forehead, and he just, all his eyes, he's just like, here I come, I come, I come. He was just like that, and it's the line from the song. And he did that, and he was just like really feeling my kind of, headbang or whatever. And that was so cool. Just, he didn't do that to anyone. And there's Chris down the rail laughing at me after that happened. I'm like, yo, you see this? It's so cool. That was just amazing. I had this shirt on, and just, that was my moment with the late, great Scott Weiland. I influenced his heartbeat. He influenced my heartbeat. That's the coolest thing about going to these shows and going up front. You're giving it to them. They're giving it back. It's like this recycle. And anyone in that industry will say that it's the fans that make it. And that's what's missed the most about this COVID bullshit is, a lot of these bands that can't come out and connect with fans. And, it's cabin fever from the stage. So one of the DeLeo brothers, Rob, he actually wiped a lot of his body sweat off with this towel, and he tossed it to me. He was like, oh, you sure you want this? And I was like, yeah, dude. And he threw this to me. So boom, this is, would you like to touch it, girls? No? No?
No.
You sure? All right. No. I'll put this sucker back in here, and I got two more souvenirs to show you. This is Eric Kretz's drumstick, and this is just the coolest thing. I'm just looking at the comments right now. One ring to rule them all.
That's not a doll. No, I'm trying to remember one of the Beatles, but I can't remember it word for word.
I'll give you a few more minutes on that. Eric Kretz, original drummer. This stick is beaten up. It's got black tape around it. It's a ProMark stick, wood on wood, just really sick. Beaten up, hickory wood. Yeah, and a lot of these guys, they have their signature sticks, which makes it even cooler. You got the band logo and the name. And I met him at the town ballroom. Totally another story for a different time. I met the entire band with the new singer, Jeffrey Adam Hoots, who was on The Voice. He had a band, the new lead singer of Stone Temple Pilots. He had a band in that new metal phase, late 90s, early 2000s, called Dry Cell. And then he auditioned on The Voice. And he was this rock dude. And he landed the audition for Stone Temple Pilots. And one of the most important members of Stone Temple Pilots, as far as the creating goes, of the music, is Dean DeLeo. And there's a song called Big Empty. Big Empty, I was listening to it this morning. Total summer vibes to me. And it's got that slide in the beginning. I've never put this on, by the way. This is the slide that he used in that intro. You gotta listen to it, but this is what he uses along the neck of the guitar, right? And with this in particular, he went to throw this to a kid after the show, or after the song. He just wanted to flick it at a kid, like 2 spots to my right. And, I have really good hand-eye coordination. I've played hockey my whole life, baseball for most of it. I could catch a ball, I could throw a ball. So that's what helps with getting all these souvenirs, right? He flicked that to this kid, and I literally was just like this. Just not even thinking about it, just hit it. And I grabbed it, and I brought it to my chest, and I looked at it. The guitarist, he looked back at me. He was like, what just happened? He was just like, how the f you do that? Well, I did. I still have this, and I've never caught any other slides before. These are rarely thrown out. I mean, I assume they're pretty expensive. Got a sticker in here. Dunlop, USA 318 slide. It's heavy, too. Awesome. That show is very memorable again. Scott Weiland no longer with us. I saw STP with Scott. And I look forward to share this catalog with my kids someday. Really. Hitting the road to a beach somewhere or hanging out to summer errands, whatever, and pumping some Stone Temple Pilots, right? So check them out. First 3 records, core, they're multi-platinum. Platinum. Yeah, by the way, if you don't know what platinum is, that means if a band has sold 1 million of those records. Now, platinum. There's some records that even go up to diamond. So if you sell platinum times 10, right? So if you sell 10 million records, you get a diamond certification from the RIAA. And there's a few records that come to mind that have diamond. Nirvana, Nevermind. Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. Creed, Human Clay. With all wide open. That, by the way, that song solo has one of my all-time favorite solos from Mark Tremonti. With Arms Wide Open, Creed. Right, throw that link up if you can, or I will later. What other? I think Prince, Purple Rain. There's a few of the Beatles records, but anyway, check them out. That next week, I went to Yankee Stadium to go see the Big Four in metal music, thrash metal: Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax. 2011, 12,000 miles plus traveled for the band. I got rich living with my parents for my first year of working at Geico Insurance. Mom and Dad, thank you. I would not have had these kind of experiences if it wasn't for you. I love you and thank you, and I hope you're enjoying your day and your Memorial Day weekend and cooking Salem's hot dogs. That's Salem's, everybody, not Zweigels or any of this ballpark stuff. Salem's hot dogs. Check this out. Ryan with Legs Wide Open. James Hetfield once referred to that song as With Legs Wide Open in the late 90s. A little play on that. I love that band, Nickelback, by the way. Nickelback. Anywho, next week, I'm going to be in Severna Park. For my James Bond GoldenEye 64 fans out there, Severnaya Park, right? Severna Park, Maryland. I'm going to be visiting my good buddy Christian Lavender, his wife Anna Lavender, and their brand spanking new son, 5 or 6 months old, Callan Lavender. I cannot wait to meet Callan. Christian Lavender is not a blood brother to me, but he is the absolute closest thing that I have to a blood brother besides my own brothers, Ryan and Leonard LoVullo. Christian's my best friend from Flagler College. He met his wife in Seattle. They're building a home now in Maryland. They have a killer home already in Maryland. He's rocking and rolling with Boston Scientific and just doing a great job through this COVID stuff, with his boy, as I'm sure a lot of you parents are with your kids. So keep rocking, keep the faith, man, and stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry. Stay heavy. Yeah. I'm going to close this episode, and I hope that you'll join me. We're at the beach here. Let's remember the victorious dead for our USA. We have the greatest country in the goddamn world. God bless you. I'm going to give these next 5 breaths to our fallen warriors. Both my grandfathers were in the United States military. Iwo Jima and Korea. I love you, Papa Joe and Papa Len. Thank you. Dave Knockreiner, Jason, Carr, thank you for your service, man. Love you guys.
All right, let's try to figure this out.